was supposed to talk on. But now we have a topic which is really wide, which has a lot of dimensions. So when I'm talking about history, it doesn't mean that I'm only talking as a historian. I'm talking as a person who is relating history to and the lessons that we can extract from the historical events that have unfolded in this whole Islamic history is something that we can look into. So I started with the lectures regarding the history of about our imams. So the first lecture that happened was about Imam Qadim alayhi salatu wasalam. Now people might think that why are we not going chronologically? Why didn't we start with Prophet Muhammad and then with Amir al-Mu'mineen, then with Sayyidah Zahra alayhi salam? Why did we just start with Imam Qadim, like a really randomest number that we took and then we started the lecture on it? So reason being was that our focus was more towards the days that we are going through. If you're going through the month of Rajab, obviously month of Rajab has a lot of importance within it. There are a lot of events that have taken place in it. But one of the most important events that happened was the Shahadat of Imam Qadim. So I thought it was a good time for us to reflect on some of the history of Imam Qadim and also some of the lessons that we can extract from it. Sha'ban likewise has the wiladat of Imam Hussain and Imam Zayd bin Abdin alayhi salam. Likewise, it also has the wiladat of Imam Sahib al-Zaman Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajuhu al-Sharif. So obviously there were a lot of things that were going into the mind, which topic to select and which topic not to speak. So I thought like it's good for us to talk on the topic of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Inshallah in Muharram, we can discuss more about Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. So here we are discussing about Imam Sahib al-Zaman. This lecture will be happening for few minutes, and obviously once we are done with the lecture, one thing that I really want my students and my people or the listeners are listening to it is that I would really appreciate if the questions are being asked. I'm telling you, there are so many hadith and there are so many good things when it comes to asking the question, the merits of asking the questions. And obviously, a lot of people just don't think, like, even if you might know answer a little bit, but you think that it would benefit the whole people or the gathering that are sitting there, if it will be benefiting all of them, then my understanding and my nasiha for you guys would be to question still. Why? Because that question would not only benefit you, but would also benefit all the people that are sitting or that are listening to the lecture. So questions should come in, and I have one of the shikayat, should I say, that I don't see a lot of people that are asking the questions. There are only like one or two people that are asking the questions, and I really appreciate them for doing that. But we really need to have our focus onto the questions too. That's why we have kept quite a good time for the questions only, right? I can understand for fiqh, we might have a lot of questions, but even for the history, some of the things that are not covered while I'm giving a lecture, you can ask the questions after the lecture is done. Obviously, when I talk about the lecture, we're talking about someone who has lived his life for years and ages. So obviously to give a little bit of perception of his life in a few minutes would be an injustice to him, of course. But whatever we can, obviously, in order to have more understanding of our Imam, we would do that, even if it means for half an hour. So these were just basic introduction things that I was thinking to discuss, and inshallah, now onto the lecture. Imam Sahib al-Zaman, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajuhu al-Sharif. Why is it important? Why is it important for us? And I think I have highlighted this too before too. Why are we going through the histories and biographies of our respected Imams? One of the answer that is being given to this is that there is a hadith in Al-Kafi. It's not only one hadith, there are multiple hadith, and also in Quran too. Something that has to do with the same madmoon, same understanding and meaning that is also mentioned in the Quran is about knowing the Imam of your time or knowing the Imams generally. And one of the hadiths that I quoted was from Imam Sadiq that says, Man mata, anyone who dies, anyone who passes this world, walam ya'rif imam zamanihi, and he doesn't know the Imam of his time, ma'ata mi'tatan jahiliya. It is as if he has gone through a death of ignorance, a death of apostasy, a death of infidelity, a death of kufr. When we say Jahiliyyah, it means the people that were not at the time of Imam, that were living at the time of Jahiliyyah. They were living in the time of, what do you call it, between the time of Prophet Isa and Prophet Muhammad. All those people that were living in, obviously, only few of them, if you take the Bani Hashim out, if you take the family of the Prophet, if you take them out and few other people out, then generally the whole society was what? Was kafir. Whole society was mushrik, right? So imagine Imam comparing to someone who doesn't know about the Imam of his time, as if the person who has lived in that era and person who has died in that era, obviously they were not Muslims. So when we want to leave this world, we want to leave this world as a Muslim. And when we say Muslim, Muslim that Allah wants us to be. Muslim, mu'min, someone who has the faith on the important things that has to do with the creed of Islam. That is not only regarding the prophethood, that is not only regarding the creed, that is not only regarding the Qiyamah, but it is also connected to the Imamat part too. We need to have firm understanding of what is Imamat, what is Wilayat, how do we prove the Imamat, how do we prove the Imamat of our Imams, right? And if we don't know and if we don't have the understanding, so we should obviously prepare ourselves and try to learn about it. Imam Sahib al-Zaman was born on 15th of Sha'ban, 255 Hijrah. Now, the way he was born, there are a lot of like commonalities between the Imam, the way Imam was born, and the way Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wassalam was born. Now, not kind of like showcasting of the things that you can go through, but I have given some of the lectures regarding Imamat and Imam Zamana. It was one of the topics that I selected for my really first Ashra that I was talking to the youth, and that Ashra is available in English. So if you search it, it was given in another Imam Bargah, so it's also available online. If you need, we can give the some of the majalises too, and inshallah it will be beneficial for our youth to look into it. So the first Ashra was on the topic of Imamat and Imam Zamana. In that, I have discussed the tenet of Imamah, why is it important for us to believe in Imamah, and also Imam Zamana too. So there is a lot of information in it. So obviously, if we are not able to do justice the way we should today, so we can go into it and we can look into a little bit of more history. So Prophet Musa was born in a way that his birth was of a really secret matter. It was such a secret matter that usually a woman is pregnant for at least more than 6 months, right? At least more than 6 months she's been pregnant, right? And 6 months or more she's been pregnant. It can go for 9 months and can go for different numbers of days too. So generally this is a normal cycle in which human being is born. But with Imam Zayn Zamana and Prophet Musa, because Prophet Musa was being sieged by Fir'aun and the army of that time, the people that were against Bani Israel, that were against the prophets of the time, they were against the birth of Prophet Musa. So obviously they didn't want Prophet Musa to be born. So obviously they would slaughter the children and they would leave the daughters. So they would slaughter the sons, they would leave the daughters. And imagine the catastrophic events that the Muslims of that time, I would say the Muslims, even though they were from Bani Israel, but anyone who believes in Prophet, who believes in Allah, and who believes in the right faith of Islam is a Muslim, be it before Prophet Muhammad or be it after Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they were being slaughtered really bad. And when they were being slaughtered, so the way Prophet Musa was born was of pregnancy for only a day. And he was born in a really miraculously way, the way Prophet Isa was born in a really different circumstance, obviously. His birth was also miraculous. Likewise, Prophet Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, his birth was also miraculous too. Likewise, Imam Sahib al-Zaman, his birth was also miraculous. Why? Because Banu Abbas, the government of that time, were seeking to slaughter Imam Sahib al-Zaman at that time. And obviously, in order to safeguard Imam Sahib al-Zaman, it was important for Imam Hassan al-Askari to not disclose about the personal family matters that was going through. So there was a lot of secrecy that was required. So within one night, obviously, Imam Sahib al-Zaman was born, and he was born on the time of Fajr, really near to the time of Fajr. And when he was born, obviously, Imam Hassan al-Askari, his auntie, his name is Hakima, even if you go to Samarra. So in Samarra, there are 4 graves inside. So it's Astaghfirullah, it's Imam Ali Naqi, Imam Hassan al-Askari, and also Bibi Narjis Khatun and Bibi Hakima Khatun. So these 4 graves you can still see in Samarra. So Bibi Hakima Khatun was there, and she helped Bibi Narjis, obviously. And at that moment, Imam Sahib al-Zaman came into this world. And the way he came in, what were the details, and how was he in the state of prostration? How was he doing sujood? How was he testifying about the oneness of Allah? How was he testifying about the prophethood of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? These are some of the things that we can go into a bit more details, inshallah, sometime in future. So this was the way he was born. So 15th of Sha'ban he was born, and he was born in a city called Samarra. At that time, the city was also named as what? Surra Manra'a. So even in some of the books of history, you would come across this name, Surra Manra'a, which means anyone who would see that city, he would become happy after seeing it, after viewing it, right? It was so beautiful. Why? Because obviously the capital of the governance of that time was in Samarra. So in Samarra, Imam was born, and obviously Imam Hassan al-Askari at that time was under the house arrest. Do you know what is house arrest? House arrest is what? When the government and the police are taking full control of your house. They would seek and they would keep a close eye of who is coming into your house, who is going off your house, what's happening within your house. So obviously there was really little secrecy, and there was little private space that Imam Hassan al-Askari had at that time. So imagine in those moments, in order to safeguard the hujjat, the last hujjat of Allah, was a really difficult and miraculous task, but alhamdulillah, Imam was being preserved by Allah through Imam Hassan al-Askari. So what happened was that when he was born, Imam Hassan al-Askari obviously didn't want to introduce him to the general public, because introducing him to the general public meant that obviously the government would have known, and when government would have known, government would have killed Imam Sahib al-Zaman. So he had to keep it really secret, and the people would come in, and only the people that were really close to Imam, that were of the prime importance of that time, they only knew what was happening. And some of the scholars of that time, the big Shia scholars, like Ahmad bin Ishaq al-Qummi, and some others, they were being introduced of their hujjat, and obviously they would be invited in the house, and a really secret room. Imam would be introduced, and after introducing Imam, then Imam would be taken away from the place, and then they won't see Imam in the house. Obviously, Allah has His own plan to safeguard and preserve Imam. So this was the way Imam Hassan al-Askari introduced Imam Mehdi alayhi salatu wassalam at that time. Now, Imam Mehdi, we call Imam Mehdi or Imam Sahib al-Zaman, these are the al-qabat, these are the merits, these are the meritorical words that we say to him, or the names that we say about Imam. His name was obviously on the name of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Usually there are some hadiths that say that we shouldn't call Imam by his name, right? So generally, just to be on the safe side, we try to refrain by calling Imam through his name. Obviously, if there is a need, then we have to say it. Otherwise, generally we don't call it, like we say Ya Ali or Ya Hussain or Ya Hassan or Ya Musa ibn Ja'far. So we can't say like the same way to our Imam. We should only say to him through his laqab or through his kunyat. His kunyat was also on the kunyat of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So his name was on the Prophet's name. His kunyat was also on the Prophet's kunyat. So his kunyat was Abul Qasim. Some of his alqabat are Baqiyatullah and Al-Ma'mul, Sahib al-Zaman, and a lot of others, Nur Ali Muhammad. These are some of the alqabat, and obviously we are just running so short of time that we cannot go into a lot of details and talk about these things. Now, the mother of Imam her name was Bibi Narjis. So Narjis was the name of Imam. In some of the book, you can also come across the word Saqi, right? So Saqil is also another name for her, because at that time, one person will have more than one names, right? So like we call Amir al-Mu'mineen as Ali, we call them Abu Hassan. So these are not names, obviously, but there's one more way, more than one way to address a specific personality. So Abu Turab, Abu Hassan, and Ali, or Amir al-Mu'mineen. These were some of the ways of addressing one personality. So these were regarding the laqab, these were regarding the names, regarding the kunya. But there were people that had multiple names too, right? So likewise, the difference of opinion can also arise with different names of the same person, right? But Narjis is one of the really famous and common name. Now, what is the dalil of the imamat of Imam Sahib al-Zaman? Now, why do we believe that he's a hujjah? Now, there are different ways of addressing and proving and showing the people why Imam is the hujjah of this time. Now, one of the way that we do is that there's a famous hadith that both Sunnis and Shias have quoted. And again, I'm saying, if you go, inshallah, if someone needs, I'm going to share the lectures, because obviously there's a lot of information in it. And obviously someone who wants to investigate further, who wants to know further, they can go through those lectures and they will have the information. So this hadith, I have discussed that in detail. Some other proofs that we can use to prove the imamat of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. But one of the famous hadiths that we have is that there are imams, al-a'immatu min Quraysh, that Aimas will be from Quraysh and their numbers will be 12, right? So only one sect in Islam claims that they follow 12 Imams. No other sect can claim. Even Ismailiyah, they believe in 6 Imam, and after 6 Imam, they transgress further and they go and they have different sets of Imam that they believe in. Likewise, Zaydiyas, their Imams are different too. They're not 12 in numbers. Likewise, Waqfiyya, likewise, Kaysaniya, some of the people that believed in the Imamat as a concept, them too, we're not talking about the Sunnis, we're talking about the people that believed in the Imamat of Amir al-Mu'mineen, that believed in the Imamat of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Even them, they don't have 12 in numbers, only the Ithna Ashar, the 12ers, the Shi'as, right? The Imamiyya, they can claim that they follow 12 Imams. So one of the strongest proof that we have is that we believe in 12 Imams, and the 12th of the Imam is Imam Sahib al-Zaman. Another hadith that we can use is from Imam Baqar alayhi salatu wassalam. He says that the ninth progeny of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, this hadith is a quotation that says that there will be 9 Imams that will be coming from the progeny of Imam Hussain. Now, who are the 9 Imams? We count it, Imam Zain al-Abdin being the first, Imam Baqar being the second, Imam Sadiq being the third, Imam Qadim being the fourth, Imam Ali Rada being the fifth, Imam Muhammad Jawad being the sixth, Imam Ali Naqi being the seventh, Imam Hassan Askari being the eighth, and Imam Mehdi being the ninth, right? So there will be 9 Imams from the progeny of Imam Hussain, and the ninth of them would be whom? Would be Qa'im. So there is another laqab. So Qa'im is a really famous laqab for Imam Mehdi, right? Qa'im means someone who is standing, right? Literally, it means someone who is standing, right? But in the context, it means someone who is standing to preserve the deen and to establish the rule of Allah in this whole world. That's why he's being called Qa'im, right? And likewise, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said to Imam Hussain that, "Oh Hussain, you are a Sayyid," right? So Imam is being Sayyid, Imam is being the leader, and you are a son of a Sayyid, and you are yourself an Imam, and you are a son of Imam, and you are a brother of Imam, and you are the Hujjah, and there are 9 people, or the 9 Imams from your progeny that will be Imams too. And the 9th of them would be Qa'im, would be Imam Mehdi alayhi salatu wassalam. So just remember all these proofs that we have, and inshallah, we can use that more and discuss that in a little bit more details. And again, I'm saying if you can go through those lectures, you'll find more proofs in it. So Imam was being born when 255 Hijrah. So from 255 Hijrah, for 5 years, Imam was living with his father. Not necessarily with him every time, but obviously under his supervision. In 260 Hijrah, 8th of Rabiul Awwal, Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salatu wassalam was being martyred, right? So even our Ayyam Azza, when we are commemorating Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam, generally it starts from 1st of Muharram. And then it goes for the 10 days, then all 40 days, and then we finish it generally on 8th of Rabiul Awwal. And this 8th of Rabiul Awwal is generally done in India, Pakistan, in subcontinent. So people from subcontinent, they generally don't like to do any things that has to do with celebrations during that time. So the day we finish the Ayyam Azza is 8th of Rabiul Awwal. 8th of Rabiul Awwal is the day when Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salatu wasalam was being martyred. So on the same day, that was 8th Rabiul Awwal itself is the first day of the Imamat of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. We have a confusion here. We think that the 9th is the first day. It's a little correction that I need to do, that Imam is the Imam the next microsecond or even the minutest of second, right? As soon as the first Imam dies, the moment he dies, the moment he has left this world, the next moment, it's less than a second. The next moment is the Imamat of the next following Imam. So Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salatu wassalam, he left this world on 8th of Rabiul Awwal on the time of Fajr. So during the time of Fajr, he left this world. So obviously the next moment, Imam Sahib al-Zaman was the Imam, the next moment when he died. So that was his first day. Sometimes we think it's 9th, but this was a little correction that I wanted to give. That 8th was the first day of the Imamat of Imam Sahib al-Zaman. And now Imam had 4 special representatives that was representing him for about 69 years. So all the way from 260 Hijrah to 329 Hijrah, there were 4 representatives that were representing Imam. So the Shias would come to those representatives, would ask them the questions, would ask them whatever they need, would give them the khums, and those 4 representatives would obviously execute that and would translate that and would communicate it to the Imam Sahib al-Zaman. And Imam Sahib al-Zaman obviously would give them the answers, would answer them the questions, would give them the barakat and everything that has to relate to the doing of the Imam, whatever Imam is supposed to do. So the 4 Nawabs mean 4 representatives, the 4 really famous representatives, and they were the classical and really important scholars of the Shia history. I want you all to remember the names. The first one was Uthman bin Sa'id al-Amri. Uthman bin Sa'id al-Amri was the first representative of Imam. And al-Amri was a really close companion of even Imam Hassan al-Askari too. So he was not only close to Imam Sahib al-Zaman, he was also close to his father too. And the same Amri had a son, his name was Muhammad. So after the death of Uthman bin Sa'id, Muhammad bin Uthman al-Amri was the second representative of the Imam in Ghaibat al-Sughra. So these 69 years are called the minor occultation, Ghaibat al-Sughra, right? So this was a minor thing in which obviously people cannot see Imam, but people can communicate with Imam through specific representatives that Imam has selected specifically. Those were the special representatives for the people to communicate with Imam. So Muhammad bin Uthman al-Amri was the second representative of Imam. Then the third one is Hussain bin Ruh. Now Hussain bin Ruh, remember this name because obviously when you're writing the Arida, when you're writing a letter to Imam, so we generally refer to Hussain bin Ruh. If you would have seen, if you go in a little bit more details, you can look into it. The fourth and the final was Ali bin Muhammad as-Samri. This was the fourth one. So Hussain bin Ruh was from a really famous family, and the famous family was responsible for producing really huge scholars within Shia Islam. He was Nawbakhti or Ali Nawbakht. have a lot of Shia scholars, and they have served Shia Islam a lot. And one of them was obviously Hussain bin Ruh. And finally, the final one was Ali bin Muhammad al-Samri. Ali bin Muhammad al-Samri was the last one, and when obviously he was dying, so Imam wrote a letter to him, and Imam even told him that you will be dying after 6 days, and may Allah have mercy on you. So try to assemble whatever things you have, and after this, the major occultation will take place. So after Ali bin Muhammad al-Samri, who died in 329 Hijrah, the major occultation would take place. And obviously there were some rulings, there were some things that Imam wanted to disclose, and Imam said that anyone who would claim himself as a special representative of Imam. See, the word special is here, right? The Maraji generally are the representatives of Imam in a general way. You know, Ayatollah Sistani, Ayatollah Khoi, and Ayatollah Khomeini, and all these huge scholars. They were representing Imams in their view in a general way, right? Not in a specific way. So Imam said, anyone who claims himself as a special representative. Now, what's the difference between a special representative and a general representative? A general representative is someone who doesn't claim himself to be connected with Imam. He doesn't say that he's going to talk to Imam every second and then he will be solving the problems of the Mu'mineens, whatever their problems are. But with the special representative, they cannot do anything but with the permission of Imam. Like, even if they have to know the masla, they cannot do their own research and give you the solution. They have to go and ask Imam, and obviously whatever Imam replies, that will be their answer. And that is the thing that they have to cling upon and tell to the people. But with the general representatives, obviously, those people are those that go through the history and go through the hadith and go through the Quran and go through the Islamic sciences, and then they deduct the rulings. So this is the difference between a special representative and a general representative. So Imam only said that no one who would claim himself as a na'ib, as a special representative, anyone who claims it and anyone who would say that I meet Imam and I have a conversation with him and I communicate him every now and then, and these are the things he's telling and these are the things that we should do, maybe it might be right or wrong, but your responsibility is not to listen to him. Why? Because Imam has explicitly said that we cannot trust anyone who claims himself as special representative. Yes, here and then you can meet Imam. Here and then Imam can give you the ni'mah. Imam can benefit you through his presence, and Imam can unveil himself to you guys. That's a special ni'mah that can happen with scholars, that can happen with really pious people. But what we are talking about is in terms of representation. So anyways, the Ghaibatul Kubra started, and obviously Imam had the solution for Ghaibatul Kubra too. Imam said that obviously the problem that you will be incurring, O Shias, after the Ghaibat has taken place, after the occultation has taken place, after you cannot see me physically the way you would have done if I was there with you guys like my fathers. So in these moments, your responsibility is to go through the narrators of our hadiths, those narrators that know our hadiths, that know our rulings really well. Try to get your deen from them, because they are hujjat upon you and we are hujjat upon them. So you see, these are the explicit rulings, these are the explicit sayings of Imam. And Imam wants us to be connected to the system of marjiyyat, right? So system of marjiyyat is important. Even if Imam is not there, if I have a problem that I don't know the solution for, I go to a doctor. We have talked about it a lot before too. We go to a doctor, we go to an engineer, we go to a plumber, we go to a surgeon, we go to special people whenever we have problem. Then when we have the problem of the deen, which is the most important problem, why don't we trust someone who is most knowledgeable of all, right? So Imam left us the system of marjiyyat. And likewise, Imam, there are some people even in the major occultation that have met Imam, and some of them include some of the huge scholars like Sayyid ibn Tawus, Allama Naini, Allama Ibrahim Kaf'ami, Allama Taqi Majlisi, who was the father of Allama Baqar Majlisi, Allama Majlisi, you would hear a lot. So his father was Allama Taqi. أبو الحسن الشعراني، علامة حر العاملي، علامة مقدس الدبيلي، شهيد الثاني، سيد نعمة الله الجزائري، Sheikh Murtaza Ansari, Sayyid Mehdi Bahr al-Uloom. These are all huge scholars, right? Inshallah, if we get time, we can discuss more about the scholars too, inshallah, in the future. But these are really, really huge scholars of Shias, right? And these Shia scholars, obviously, they had this privilege that they were able to meet Imam at that time. And we have talked about the things that is pertinent to Imam and the people that have met him. Finally, we would end this lecture by giving you some of the major signs that will come across when Imam would come in and would rule this world. But before Imam would come in, Imam has left some major signs for us to look for. These are some of the major signs that we should keep a close eye. And once these signs have occurred, then the Imam, the zuhur of Imam would be really, really near. Now, some of the signs have already taken place, but some of the signs, they have to take place again in order for us to have more understanding of it in a better way. And some of them include the rise of Sufyani. Sufyani is a whole discussion that we can have, inshallah, in future, but Sufyani is one of the signs. Likewise, Yamani, someone who would come from Yemen, someone who would come from Sana'a. Sana'a still is the capital of Yemen. So Sana'a, someone who would rise from there, is another sign of the zuhur of Imam. Likewise, the martyrdom of a really respectful personality, he would be called as Nafs al-Zakiyya. Nafs al-Zakiyya means someone who has a really purified soul, right? He would be martyred in Mecca. Likewise, there will be a call that would be given from the skies, and that call is called Sayha, right? And finally, there will be people that will be trying to attack Imam. And when they will be trying to attack Imam, there will be a place that's called Baida. Baida is a place between Medina and Makkah. And they would be destroyed and they would go down the earth. Allah will show a miracle, and the people that will be trying to go and harm Imam and the followers of Imam, Allah will show miracle and they would be digged into the ground. And this sign is called what? Al-Khasfu bil-Baida. So these are the 4 or 5 major signs that we can really keep a close eye. Obviously, there are other signs too that have been fulfilled. But as Shias, these were some of the signs that is for the zuhur of Imam. But as Shias, we just don't have to keep a close eye on what's happening. We have to prepare ourselves. We have to make sure that we are ready when Imam is coming in. And that's what Imam has said. And through this, I would like to end my lecture. That Imam says, لو أن أشياعنا وفقهم الله لطاعته على اجتماع من القلوب في الوفاء بالعهد عليهم. That if our Shias, and may Allah help them to fulfill the promise that they are supposed to, if they combine their hearts together, such a beautiful saying. Imam wants the Shias to be united. Imam wants us to be together. Imam doesn't want us to be living in isolation and to have hatred for each other. Imam wants us to be together. So Imam said that if we all combine our efforts together, right, with what? We're trying to fulfill the duties that we're supposed to do. What are the duties that we're supposed to do? To have the hope of Ahlul Bayt, to have the love of Ahlul Bayt, to have the hatred for the enemies of Ahlul Bayt, to have sound aqidah when it comes to Tawheed. We have to have the sound aqidah when it comes to the prophethood. We have to have the right aqidah when it comes to the qiyamah. Likewise, we are able to fulfill the needs of prayers. We are fasting in the month of Ramadan. We are going for the Hajj. We are fulfilling all the Islamic duties that we are supposed to. Then Imam says, لَمَّا تَأَخَّرَ عِنْهُمُ الْيَمَنُ بِلِقَائِنَا. Then if they would do this, and if they will fulfill all the duties that are upon them, then it won't even take a blink of eye for us to meet them. So all of us, including me and including all the brothers and sisters that are listening to this lecture, we all want to meet Imam. But what is the way that we will be able to meet Imam? The way that we would be able to meet Imam is through following upon the instructions of Quran, of following upon the instructions of Prophet, of following upon the instructions of Aimma alayhimus salam. If you are able to do the way we are supposed to, and if we follow Allah the way we should follow, then inshallah, there is no bridge between meeting our Imam and ourselves, inshallah. With this, I will end the lecture with this dua, inshallah, that may Allah preserve all of you, and may Allah help us in becoming the favorites of Imam, and may Allah hasten the zuhur of Imam. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ali. Now it's the time for the question answers. So anyone who has any questions or anything in it, they can ask, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam, my beautiful brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Nice to see you. Go ahead.
You too. I have a couple of questions. My first question is, can the world exist without the Imams?
That's a good question. So let me just answer the first question. Inshallah, when I'm done with this, then you can ask me the second one. Can this world exist without Imam? The answer is no. There are explicit hadith that says that if Imam of the time, look, I'll give you a really logical example, and it's really easy for you to understand. Who is the first creation of Allah? First creation of Allah is Prophet Adam alayhi salatu wassalam. And then Bibi Hawa came with Prophet Adam. So Allah, Bibi Hawa is not a prophet, is not an Imam, is not a Hujjah. But Prophet Adam is the Hujjat of Allah. When the first creation that were being created by Allah, they were not created without the Hujjah, then how can we think that we've been living here in billions? See, there was only one lady at that time. And for that one specific lady, Allah sent a Hujjah for her to be guided. How can we think that we are living here in billions and there is no one that is helping us or that is guiding us in a spiritual way, right? So there is a Hujjah that is always with us. And there are explicit hadiths that says that if the Hujjah is not there on the earth, then the earth, along with the dwellers, along with the people living in it, would be destroyed and perished. There is explicit hadith on this topic. So yes, this earth and this place and this world cannot live without Imam.
Thank you very much. I have another question.
Go ahead.
Who are the people that can read Imam Zamana in Ghaibate Kubra?
Okay, that's a really wonderful question. See, there are different ways that we can apply. Look, I wish I'm among the one of those that is able to meet Imam Sahib al-Zaman. It's my own, honestly, everyone who is listening to it, who wants to be close to Imam, obviously they have this sincere wish within their heart that may Allah make them close to Imam, and may Allah give them this ni'mah, this blessing to meet Imam personally. I feel that there are a lot of things that we can do. One of the hadiths that I mentioned at the end is important for us to follow. And that Imam also gave the formula himself. See, there are some formulas from our own selves, and there is one formula that Imam has given us explicitly. That explicit formula is that we should follow the Sharia, we should follow the rulings, right? To the letter and to the spirit of it. So if you are doing it both to the letters and the spirit of it, then inshallah, there is nothing that can prevent us to meet Imam, right? But how would we do that? This is the thing that is being taught to us through these lectures. People need to have the education first, and then only they would act upon it, right? Imagine if you are supposed to take, and this example I have used so many times, but it's a really relevant example. Knowledge is the first important component of it. You're trying to go the west side of 401 to Windsor, and you took 401 east, and you were driving really fast. That driving will only take you away further from the place or further from your destination that you're supposed to go. Right. Likewise, we start try to acting upon the things without even knowing the wajibat and muharramat and the basics of the fiqh and the basis of the things that are being needed from us to know and act upon them. So yes, for us, the first important point or the first important thing that we can do is to make a goal first itself, to have that intention within us, that yes, we will be able to meet Imam. We have this determination within our heart. Once we have that determination, once we have that conviction within us, second step to move forward would be to get the right knowledge, to know the tools properly. And this would need for us to know the fiqh to an extent that whatever we have to come across every day. Likewise, the etiquettes, likewise, the aqidah. And once we know about the things that we are supposed to do, then the third and the most important thing is to act upon it. And I think a lot of us, we have a lot of knowledge, but when it comes to the right actions, we lack in that field specifically. So yes, we should always try our best to follow these steps. And inshallah, I have no doubt that we will be able to meet. See, Imams generally would go and meet the scholars. Generally, there are examples other than the scholars too. So two important things that I really see here, which is something that gives me a lot of hope, is the knowledge, firstly, and second thing is to act upon it, of course, and third is the love of Imam himself. How much tarap you have, as they say in Urdu. Kitni tarap hai hamare andar. How much, like the conviction we have, how much are we this dua, Ilahi a'zamul bala wa barik, the long dua, faraj that we read. But do we actually call him when we are in seclusion? Do we actually have a conversation with him when we are sitting by ourselves? Do we actually try to think that what Imam might be doing right now? What would be the thing that he would be thinking about? Can I give him a little bit of smile by doing something good? Even if it means by reciting a small salawat, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So these are some of the steps that I would think it's important. And this is a topic or this is a question for the whole like 10 majalises. But inshallah, if we start doing this, then inshallah, we know that we're going on the right path.
Thank you very much.
Jazakallah.
Are there any more questions from students? If do so, please, I encourage you to ask questions. This is a very golden opportunity you have to ask about our 12th Imam. Okay, brother, since students maybe they don't have, I have a question regarding like many youth ask this question and it's a point of discussion for them. Like, why do we send ariza to our 12th Imam? Are there any verses in Quran or narrations from Aima that we should be sending, and why we specifically address Hussain bin Ruh in those arizas?
Yeah, it's a wonderful question. See, our understanding is that our Imam is just not living in a specific society or in a specific geographical location. As some people, I don't know where they come from, but some people think he's living in the Bermuda Triangle. Or some people, they have a lot of misconceptions regarding Imam. So we believe our Imam is they can listen to us when we want to call them, and they are being given the abilities from Allah Almighty to help their the close ones too in case of their needs or if they are being called out. So ariza is just our way of expressing our love. You see, like when you are there's one way of connecting with your Imam when you're trying to do a really private sort of conversation, and you're just like, may Allah hasten the zuhur of Imam. Oh Allah, through the wasila of Imam, I have these and these hajats, I have these and these du'as that are from you. This is one way of communicating with Imam and having a bonding with Imam. The second way, a way to do that is to writing an arida, is to write all those things that you have in your mind. It's just right, it's the way you are writing to your Imam, the way the people before us would write. You know, Imam Hassan Askari would answer so many people, so many Shias, because so many of them would write the letters and Imam would reply them back with the letters, because Imam was not accessible. So people would sneak into his house in a really different way as someone who is selling stuff. And then when they would bring the stuff, then they would have the letters of the Shias with them. So this was a tradition that's not new, that has been happening before too. The difference is that at that time, obviously, we have a specific location of Imam. We knew that he was in Samarra. We knew that he was in Medina. We know he was in Kufa. We know he was in Karbala, depending on the Imam, right? So we would write the letter exactly at that location, and we would have one of the messenger taking that letter with him. But now in this world, we just don't know where exactly Imam is. We know he's near to us, but where exactly he is, right? So that's why one way we do is that we write an arida. It's our way of communication to Imam. That look, Imam, I want to communicate with you through my words too, but this letter is a source of my love, is a source of my immense gratitude towards you. The way our predecessors Shias would do and would write letters to other Imams, I would just want to maintain the same sunnah of writing. So here is my letter. The ariza means a letter, right? It's a letter that you're writing. So this is my letter to you, O Imam. And because Hussain bin Ruh has a special connection with Imam, see, all the other, Uthman bin Sa'id, Muhammad bin Uthman, and Ali bin Muhammad as-Samri, all of these have, obviously they're really respectful, but Hussain bin Ruh, from four of them, he has a special status in the eyes of Imam. You know, he was one of a common Shia. He was obviously knowledgeable, but there were some other Shias that were deemed more knowledgeable by the common masses and that were deemed more worthy of leadership at that time, right? During the time of Muhammad bin Uthman al-Amri. So the perception was that after the death of Muhammad bin Uthman, maybe some other person would become the representative of Imam, the special representative. But Imam specifically chose who? Hussain bin Ruh. So because his connection with Imam was different, and we want to use a wasila for us, for our hajats to be granted in front of Imam. So we use Hussain bin Ruh as one of the really revered personality, as I have said, as one of our wasila, right? So that our hajats towards the Imam are being directed properly. And inshallah, we will be able to have close communication with Imam. And one of the things that we should write in Ariza is not only like what our hajats are, is to talk about Imam, like you're talking to a person who you respect a lot, who you revere a lot. How would you ask them? You would be asking them that, Ya Imam, may Allah sacrifice my life for you. How are you doing? I hope Allah is with you, and I know Allah is with you. And I sincerely pray to Allah to give you a long life, to preserve your life. And Mawla, I am there for you to sacrifice my life. I am there for you to sacrifice my family. I'm there for you to sacrifice my belongings. Oh Imam, I just need you to have one nazar karam on me. You know, the way you would communicate to your Imam, just think as if you were talking to live Imam. Imam is just standing in front of you. Just don't only write your hajats. Try to have that communication with you. Because when you would have the right communication with Imam, I'm guaranteeing you the chances of your hajats to be fulfilled are more. Obviously, if you would show the love, if you would show the respect for the Hujjah, obviously, Hujjah would also try to reciprocate with you and try to fulfill your hajat too. So these were some of the reasons, inshallah. if we have time, we can talk about this thing more.
Jazakallah, brother. That was really mind-opening answer. Can we? Are there any more questions? And if we don't have any questions, can we recite Dua Imam Zamana? I would highly encourage everyone to switch on their audios and videos to recite with Brother Jarry Haider. Jazakallah.
Does someone have any question? If not, then inshallah, in 3 seconds or 5 seconds, I'll start the dua. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Everyone together. I want everyone to switch their mic on and also their videos, right? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma kulli waliyaka Hujjat ibn al-Hasan salawatuka alayhi wa ala abaihi في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه ورفك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على